guys, so today we're going to make some Christmas garland. I went ahead and already harvested a bunch of western red cedar from our trees out here. We're in Northern California at this location. They're beautiful. You can see how nice and flat they lay. This is going to be really good for making Christmas garland or holiday garland, however you want to use it. So we're using western red cedar, like I said, but you can also use pine, you can use fir, you can use spruce, whatever you might have. You can also get creative and see what you might have in your own yard that you might be able to repurpose. Making garland is actually pretty easy, but the things you want to consider are using something like an evergreen, because you're going to get a longer lifespan out of it. So for example, using maple trees or something that's going to be going deciduous, or even oak trees, probably are not going to make a great garland. Those leaves are going to want to fall off eventually, where our evergreens like this or cypress are going to want to stay on a little bit longer. You should expect your garland to be good for at least a month or so, 4 to 6 weeks. If you're in a cooler climate or it's in an area that's a little colder, or if it's outside, you can expect it to last maybe up to 8 weeks, which is pretty cool. All right, so for garland, you really don't need a lot of material. So we're using just this twine right here, which is wire. One thing that I would probably recommend over this is a floral wire, which is kind of that green looking wire you can get at any garden store. I'm using my hand pruner to prune off the stems and leaves here, and then you want to have some sort of twine or wire. You can go with a little bit thicker if you want, but I think this is a really good size. So when it comes to cutting down your garland, you want to keep it manageable, because you want to be in charge of how the leaves fall. So ideally you want to pick portions that are about the size of your hand or so. So what I'm going to do is just prep all of this garland. I'm going to go ahead and cut off little stems and twigs like this and just put them in a pile here. I can't even tell you how good it smells. So these are scraps. You can compost them. You can make other crafts out of them if you want. But for example, like this is a little too long, so I'm going to cut it right here. Or else you're just going to have a lot of twigs in your garland. Now, garland is really a DIY friendly project, and you'll see people making it in all different types of ways. Some people actually use twigs and stuff like that in their garland. And that's a really cool look too. I'll probably end up adding some pine cones, but we'll just see how it goes. Okay, let's try it again. All right, so you might ask, can I just use these cedar twigs to make my garland? And you totally could. I mean, it's a very great creative DIY kind of project. You could layer these, tie them together, throw them on a table. Super easy way to add garland for a quick Christmas party. But if you're looking to kind of have these droop or stylize them, add them to the mantle, these twigs are going to prove to be a little difficult to work with. They're not as malleable. You're not going to be able to force it into the space that you want. So most people remove the leaves and attach it to a string like we're going to do, and a little bit here to give it that malleable look and also shape it to your space. And I'm going to use these hand pruners from Steel. I know I talked about another hand pruner, which was the battery powered hand pruner, the GTA 26, but these little guys here, this is what I'd prefer to do these smaller cuts. And again, I'm looking for leaves that are probably 8 inches or so, or hand width. And then I'm keeping my extra twigs over here because, you know, you never know what the next project is going to call for. And cedar is a great craft material, or a great construction material to work with as well. All right, so I am halfway done with this large garland right here, and it's looking really great. A lot of people use floral wire. I just have this framing wire, which it's gonna work, it's fine. The only difference is that it's silver, so if it's flopped open somewhere, you might see that, but if it's laid down correctly, it's not a big deal. So to start your garland, and again, we're using only western cedar in this one. It's a very simple garland, it's a quick garland. You wanna get your leaves here, or your stems really, and you're going to pile them through. Ideally you want them to be like 6 to 8 inches, and you're going to stack them on top. You can mix in some smaller ones, but if you get a lot of this stuff, it just builds bulk and it doesn't really give you a lot of volume this way or coverage this way. So some of these smaller ones I'm just passing on. If you really wanted a chunky garland, you could throw all those in there, but ideally I'm throwing in some bigger, longer ones, and that'll give me a better overlay. So you want to grab a little bunch. This one has 5. I've been doing a little bit thicker. Here we go. add 2 more. So here's 7. And so if you're going to be starting your garland right now, you would either start with you could only use wire if you want and just wire them to each other, but it's not as strong, especially if you're going with like a very long one. So you want to take your rope or your string, twine, whatever, and your twine, and you're going to wrap it around 3 times. And that's basically going to start it. So you just start with this, and then when you end your garland, let's say if this was the end right now, I would just go ahead and reverse the angle here, and then you can kind of go back 1 or 2 more if you wanted to get a nice ending. But I'm in the middle of this one, so I'm going to continue to do it, which is very similar to the start. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with our garland. Like, this is way too big, so I'm going to snip this down in half. Okay. And there we go, add that to the mix. And so when I'm layering, I'm wrapping 3 times on each. So that was 2, and then this third one's gonna wrap them together. You don't wanna stack them obviously right on top of each other. You wanna stagger them a little. So I'm gonna stagger this one about 1/3 down. My wire is going to wrap around, twice here. And I have my twine kind of being wrapped in with this as well. And then I'm just gonna pull a little snug so that I know I have good coverage. All right, there we go. And then time to do it again. It's, like I said, pretty easy, and honestly I think it's a great way to just kind of spend some mindless time. It's creative. This would be really fun to do with some kids or maybe your grandparents or parents. And it just smells so good. But it really just greens up a space as well, and I don't know, it brings joy, so I really enjoy doing stuff like this. I do think the floral wire is a little bit easier than what I'm using, but this definitely works. It's the only thing they had at the store. So that's what we're doing. There you go. All these little things. Well, this one's not bad. I'll take this. But these little guys, they go on the floor, and then I'm just gonna sweep it. Running low on supply here. I did 3 boxes so far, but that should be enough. I still have a truckload full. You should be able, if you don't have spruce or cedar or pine in your yard, oftentimes you can go into the forest and harvest. You're definitely not supposed to go purchase and then like sell your harvest, but definitely check with local code. Some places it's totally fine, and some places it's not. So it's worth looking into though. A lot of places are cool with it if it's just for personal use. Alright, so I've gotten to the end of my garland. It's about 10 feet. And so I'm just taking a nice full bushy bunch for the end. You can see this is my end right here, and I'm just going to wrap this like so. And once I get this on the mantle, I'm going to go ahead and do a little zhuzhing up and edit it. You can add pine cones. You could add so many things to the garland if you'd like. I love this little handheld vacuum. It is so handy. I use it all the time. And the best part is it actually shares the same battery as my GTA 26 from Steel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow and hit that like button. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments.